Hey friends, back again with some more bluegrass instruction for you guys. This is, I'd say, probably more of an intermediate thing, maybe a little touch of beginner in this lesson. And I had a request a while back to do a video on strumming, and I'm just coming up with some ideas here lately, some things I've been noticing in my own playing to maybe even tighten your strumming up even more than usual. And I'm not going to worry about switching chords and things like that. Usually when I tell people to practice their strumming, I tell them stick with one chord, especially if you're a beginner and you're learning how to switch chords. You don't want to be thinking about switching chords, thinking about your right hand, thinking about your left hand. Practice one thing at a time, okay? So what I want to do is kind of go over the whole idea of how to strum more effectively, okay? Now, when you're beginning and when you're starting out, most beginners start and they play all 6 strings, okay? That's a big, big mistake, all right? A lot of chords do not use all 6 strings. For example, a D chord uses, most part, it uses the D string down. And you can get away with the A string because it's actually in the chord anyway. That's the A. Okay, so it's the 5th note in the scale of D major. You can get away with that, but most people play this whole wide strum and they're hitting all 6 strings, and you hear that open E ringing out. Okay, and that's terrible. And you play a C, you don't play that bottom note either. Okay, not all chords use all 6 strings. Okay, very few chords do. One of the exception is an E and a G. And you can use a combination, you know, of the other ones. You can use the D and use the bottom note if you want to, if you can wrap your thumb around the 2nd fret of the E string. But once again, that note is more prominent because it's louder, has more volume because it's a lower note. So it's going to kind of drown out the main D note that you're wanting to hit. Same thing with the C. You can use this variation of a C chord here. That's a good one to use. It sounds all right. Doesn't sound too overbearing on the C note, C chord. But after a while, you'll hear that G a lot, and that's more of a chord to end on. You know, to end a song on that. So what I want you to realize, rule number one, don't use all 6 strings when you're strumming, okay? Rule number 2, this is probably almost as important, if not more important, than rule number 1, and that is, keep in mind that when you're strumming, you have just about that much space to hit the strings, okay? Very small, maybe 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches, if that. I want you to picture this, okay? The sound hole is just a little bit wider on most guitars than the strings, okay? So if I clamp down, I've got maybe 1/2 inch on either side of the peak of the sound hole, maybe a little less, before I contact the strings. Now what I want you to realize here is that when I'm playing, I don't strum any wider than the sound hole, okay? I try not to. I try to strum even more narrow than that, because the rest of it's air. It's wasted motion. And I know a lot of people that have thin picks, okay? If you have a thin pick and you want to strum more effectively, you want to pick more effectively and play bluegrass more effectively, you've got to get a thicker pick. Not necessarily a huge bulky pick, but you got to get a thicker pick, okay? I generally recommend for beginners to get at least a .73, and that's if you're playing the Dunlop guitar picks. Those are just the plain Dunlop guitar picks, and most other guitar picks have the same color code, D'Andrea and some of the other ones. That's the yellow ones, okay? That's the .73 ones. This is what Steve Kaufman uses, what a lot of other people uses, and it's generally a little stiffer. It's a good upgrade from more than likely the .5 millimeter that you're already using. A lot of flimsy picks start out at about .5 millimeters. So, and if you're using Dunlop, that's the red one if you're using the Tortex. When I started playing, I started out with the orange ones, which are the .6. That's what I started out with. I love the bright sound, but don't be fooled. Yes, it has a brighter sound if you use a thinner pick, But if you want a tone, not just brilliancy, but if you want nice tone, you have to use a thicker pick, okay? It will definitely bring the wood sound out of your guitar more. It'll definitely make the strings sound a lot more fat, heavy, deep, warm sounding. And the pick material, I could go on and on for days about pick materials and pick thicknesses, gauges, and different companies and all this. Check out the Blue Chip Pick video that I have. I don't know why I pointed down. I'm not leaving a link or anything like that. But check out my review of the Blue Chip Pick. I love this pick. It's amazing. You can get it in all various gauge sizes and things like this. But if you're not willing to invest that money, if you're a beginner or something like that, don't really know much about tone, then definitely check out the Dunlop picks, okay? So start out with a .73 and preferably move on up to something that you're comfortable with, okay? And find something that works for you. And because if you're using a thin pick, chances are you're strumming harder than you need to, which means you're strumming wider and you're using a lot of motion. I know some people that are like, and all the movement is in their arm, okay? You want to use a wrist movement for playing, okay? You don't want to use your whole arm. That will tire you out. It'll wear you out. And most of the time, especially if you're singing, you have a tendency to mimic portions of your body. I learned this from Steve Kaufman a while back, and that is, when I'm playing hard with the picking hand, I tend to do the same thing and mimic that with the right hand. So I'm pressing hard, and I have more fatigue and more cramps in my hand. Same thing, if you're playing hard here, you're going to be holding hard down here. You're going to be singing too hard than what you need. You've got to relax, okay? Relax. So don't strum any wider. Practice strumming a chord. Now notice this, I can strum as light or as hard to get it louder as I want to, okay? And I'm not going way past the strings on either side. Keep in mind that sound hole as a gauge. Don't go beyond that. Don't go below that, okay? You don't need a big wide strum. You want to be strumming right around the back end of the sound hole, at least for most acoustic guitars I've found, right around the back end is where you're going to get your most tone. If I'm up too far in the middle, it's more of a plasticky, you know, deep, muddy sound, especially if I go up further than that. It almost sounds like a cello or something, you know, really deep. If I go farther back, it's too tinny, it's too, you know, too tinny sounding, too sharp. And sometimes you want to go a little further back the sound hole if you're picking, just so you can get a louder volume, especially if you're playing in a band. You've got the banjo and you've got mandolins and all these fiddles and everything else overpowering you. You want to come back a little further to lead, but for the most part, right in the middle is where you want to be. Consequently, it's about the middle point between the fretboard and the bridge here, the end of the fretboard and the bridge. It ends up being almost in the middle between that, the back of the sound hole does. So that's where you want to aim your pick. And if you're playing your guitar with your arm over it, don't do that either. Get used to playing your guitar with your arm resting and then your elbow coming down. And then notice this, I've got my arm resting in a place that when my hand comes down, it's right in the position I need it to be. I know a lot of people who play, you know, Johnny Cash style and their arms back here, and, you know, I guess everybody's different, but for the most part, I find that I'm leaning over my guitar just a little bit, and then I'm using my wrist, not my arm. I'm using my wrist to strum. Okay. Now, as far as actual strumming patterns, I went over many strumming patterns before, and there's some videos on doing those strumming patterns. But another thing I want you to realize is that you don't, if you have a chord that utilizes all 6 strings, you don't have to play all 6 strings at the same time. What I'm doing is I'm riding the bass note, and then I'm coming, maybe skipping a couple strings, and hitting the bottom 2 or 3 strings. Actually, it's more like the bottom 3 or 4 strings. And it's a little bit more of a percussive movement. it adds more of a little bit of a drum beat to it. So I'm not even hitting the A string. Even though I'm holding it here, some people actually play this the G chord like this. I just leave it there just in case. And it's good to get in that habit anyway, because once you switch to the C, you've got to have that anyway. Okay, so it's good to get in that habit. Generally, I just play all the notes here. I don't usually lift that finger up unless I'm coming down. And then I'll come right back to this note. But I'm just playing the bass note. So I'm hitting the bass note, skipping a string, and then playing the remainder of the strings with a nice chop strum. And this works if you're playing fast. Okay, so practice using that method, using the top half of the strings for the bass and the strumming for the bottom half of the strings, okay? It really helps it a lot. And I forget who requested this, but they was kind of likening this to a mandolin chop. And they were saying something about how let the mandolin do the chopping, and, you know, I forget how he worded it, but he was talking about the guitar kind of and the mandolin kind of syncing up and kind of complementing one another. So I hope this is what you're talking about. And I'm just going to that F, a simple F, to the C, back to the G. Now another thing I've noticed that I do lately is I'll get quiet and then I'll do a loud upstroke on the high strings. And this is what it sounds like. I did this yesterday, especially with slower songs. Okay, and all I'm doing there is the very last upstroke before I come back down on that bass note. Up bass, up bass. And that just adds more of a bluegrass sound to that as well, I've noticed. And notice once again, I'm not using alternating bass notes. Lately, I just don't do that for myself most of the time. I just stay riding this bass, and I'll let the higher string kind of continue on with the main feel of the song. But for beginners, it's good to get that alternate bass note going. It's really a lot more movement than what I want. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot of, I'm just riding this bass and then letting the other strings. And then a lighter touch on the bass note. And then a louder one on that one. And there's a little bit of dynamics going on there. There's a little bit loud and soft and loud and soft. And it really, it's kind of like a train. It's not a fast song, but the train keeps moving, and it's in and out, and it's fluid, it's organic. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not stiff. It's not wide, it's not messy, it's organic. It's got a life of its own. Once again, I'm in the back end of the sound hole. If I want to do some picking, I can move back if I want to. Generally, I just stay in the same place. Okay, so in practice, you want to practice using that bass note and then letting the higher strings do the talking. Okay, and remember that last upstroke is a little louder on some of the strums, especially on a slow song. the last upstroke before the bass note is a little louder, okay? So I hope this strumming course, if you will give you some ideas. And if you are interested in more strumming ideas, I've got plenty of YouTube videos on that. Just type in on my channel strumming patterns or strumming or basic strumming or anything you can think. I even have a praise and worship strumming video. It's a Q&A question. One of my good pastor friends asked me how to do praise and worship strumming, and I actually did. It's like a question answer thing, and I actually did a video on that. And if you want to learn even more, go to bluegrassguitaressentials.com. Right now the webisodes are available, so you can just put the little slash webisodes after that URL. The link should be below, and you can take advantage of the introductory pricing, limited time only. So if this comes out, if you've watched this, if you're a new subscriber, and weeks down the road the full course is released, I'm sorry you missed out on the introductory pricing, but it was available there for those who are members of YouTube, who watch me constantly, and who are members of the mailing list, which I send out live updates. Try to weekly, but if nothing's happening, then obviously I'm not just going to bombard your email address if nothing's happening. So take advantage of all those ideas. This is another good short lesson for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can get something from it. If you have any problems, don't forget that some YouTube videos can be slowed down or sped up. So if you're trying to watch the pattern, if I didn't go over it enough for you, and you're trying to get the upstrokes and everything down really good, go to the little cog, the little gear looking icon here below the video player, and you can actually change the speed. I've noticed more and more videos are able to do this, and this is, I love that YouTube have done this. This is one of the best things they've done, because now I can listen to audiobooks or watch seminars or whatever in twice the speed. I would recommend you slowing this down to half speed, because 1.5 or 2.5 is, maybe it is 1.5 speed. The highest number that you can go is way too slow. So go to the one that's just above the 1 times the normal speed. And it should be slowing it down enough to where you can see what I'm doing, okay? And just for fun, it's fun to watch it like that anyway, because whatever you're talking, it sounds like, you're on meds or you're not cognizant or something like that. Because I don't know, I've watched several videos like that. And it's funny to watch people talk very slow and listen to every syllable. I don't know, maybe it's just something quirky about me. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Please check out Bluegrass Guitar Essentials, where for right now you can still take advantage once you purchase or download. If you download the free version, the free webisodes, you can get a special discount link to some Vibe strings. Okay, so definitely check out Vibe strings. I've been working with Fran Gaffney, and had an interview with him. If you've just joined and don't know anything about me, there's an interview of the creator and owner and founder of Vibe Strings on my website, on my YouTube channel. So definitely check out that. It's very, very interesting stuff he has to say. And right now you can get that special discount for half off when you purchase Bluegrass Guitar Essentials or download the free version of that. So thanks so much for watching. And I will get off here and resume my day. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out the website. Check out the links below, the description, everything. You always want to do that with my videos, because chances are I'll have something maybe extra or different. And if you like any of the things that I recommend, like the picks that I was talking about, there's an Amazon link on the very bottom of the description area that you can go to and purchase those. I've left an Amazon link there. You just go, it takes you straight to Amazon. And you can do a search for the picks that you want, maybe even search for a Martin guitar, search for a Page capo, search for a Dunlop pick holder, or straps, whatever. Even maybe you might even like the Kodak ZI-8 camera that I'm using to record this, or the ATR, I think it's 3350 lapel microphone, which the last time I checked was like 20 bucks. It's a steal of a deal. And I've had the same batteries in here for probably about a year, and I recorded my whole entire Bluegrass Guitar Essentials course with the same batteries that I used when I first picked this up. So amazing, amazing microphone. I recommend it to anybody. Go on to the bottom of the Show More area. Check out that Amazon link. It will take you directly to Amazon. You can type in those references. And that's an affiliate link. So when you do that, it shows your support for my channel and the things that I do here on YouTube. And Amazon paid me like a small commission or whatever. Haven't really made a whole lot of money on Amazon, but every little bit helps. I really appreciate you, and if you like to show your support that way and get some cool swag in the process from Amazon, I would definitely appreciate that. So I'm going to stop rambling, stop plugging everything. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. I hope this really helps your strumming. Please leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think about it. Maybe even you want to do a video of strumming and leave a comment with a link to that video. That'd be fine too. Definitely check that out. So I'll see you guys next time, whenever that may be. Please stay tuned to the channel. More things coming up as I have ideas and as I try to cull through all the requests that I have. Had plenty of requests coming up. I'm definitely trying to get on top of those and do some more Tony Rice tunes for those of you who are requesting that as well. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you later, and God bless.